head on down with Miss Barbie and Mr. Mark. And it is, let me see, nope, that's going to stay right there, just like that. All right. And it's good to be back this morning. It is great to be back this morning. I feel like I've had a lot of time off. But really, it hasn't been that much time, all right? So it was 1 week, and the convention doesn't count, as that was not a vacation. That was work. That was church-related. But it's good to be back here this morning. It's good to be back here to share the God's Word. Because, it's one of the things as a pastor that I truly am blessed to be able to do is come and share the Word with all of you every single Sunday. I never get tired of it. I always thank the Lord for the opportunity because it's so important for us as a body of believers to come together, to study God's Word, to understand it, and just, if you want to know more about God in your faith, the only way to do that is to learn more about Him through His Word. That is why He preserved His Word. That is why He inspired men through the Holy Spirit to write down these words so that we can grow through the studying of His Word. That being said, we are going to turn in our Bibles to Matthew chapter 13. We're back in Matthew. And I know, like I said, we've been kind of jumping around Matthew chapter 13 here. I say the past few weeks, but I feel like it's been about a month in one chapter here. But we're going to be finishing up Matthew chapter 13 this week. And as we prepare, as I was preparing this message, I was thinking back a couple weeks ago when I was flying down to Orlando. Now, I don't know how you feel about flying, but I think it's fascinating. Now, I do not like heights. I do not like enclosed spaces. But when I get into an airplane, I think it's fascinating. It is amazing to me. I love having a window seat, being able to stare out the window and see the 15,000-foot view above the air, 30,000-foot view above the air. But there's one thing that always kind of gets me when I fly, is I see up close the planes that we're flying in. Now, planes are fascinating because they're basically giant fiberglass tubes rocketing through the air at hundreds of miles an hour at about 35,000 feet. And a lot could happen in that 30,000 feet, in that trip. But it's so amazing because as I'm sitting there flying, like I said, it just amazes me that we have that capability as people nowadays to fly at those altitudes in those aircrafts, that you can get to Orlando, Florida in about 2 hours and 45 minutes. That's all it takes to go from Baltimore to Orlando in an airplane. Now, the fascinating thing is the story of air travel all started back in 1903 when two bicycle mechanics from Dayton, Ohio, rolled a strange-looking machine onto a windy beach in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. All right? This was in 1903. At that time, there were no television cameras. There were no crowds gathered to watch. There weren't even any news reporters there to make a big fuss about this spectacular event. In fact, there were only 5 people that witnessed the first powered flight in history. 5 people. The airplane only flew for 12 seconds and it traveled a total of 120 feet. It flew for 12 seconds and only traveled 120 feet. Now, what's amazing is most people back then probably would have looked at that moment and shrugged, thinking, oh, that's kind of cool, but what's that going to do? How's that going to benefit us? Well, 2 brothers, Orville and Wilbur Wright, probably did not realize the great impact that they would have on our modern world. And now today, there's more than 100,000 commercial flights that take off every single day around the world, with millions of people traveling by air each year. Like I said, we can now get from Baltimore to Orlando in 2 hours. It used to take 2 days if you were traveling. Back before cars even, it would have taken you a lot longer, weeks. I always remember watching the old movies, and they say, the dad of the farmer, I'm heading into town, I'll see you in a month. And it was always so fascinating. I was like, the town's only like 5 minutes away. But it's amazing what these two brothers and those 5 witnesses, the impact that they had on the world. They probably never understood back then that they were paving the way for our capability that we can fly today, that they didn't realize what the small beginnings back then, how it would affect the world. That fateful day in 1903 changed the world forever. Now, history repeatedly reminds us that we should never judge the future by humble beginnings. In fact, there's a lot of things, many major corporations in these worldwide, these huge businesses that we talk about today that you're familiar with, Google, Apple, Microsoft, all these massive corporations often started with humble beginnings in somebody's garage. But this is also exactly what Jesus tells us about here in Matthew chapter 13. Matthew chapter 13 is full of parables, and we've been going through the parables. We talked about why Jesus talks in parables. We covered some of the parables here, and we're going to cover the rest. The last few are very short parables. But the one parable, the focus here is going to show us how through the parable, Jesus tells us through the parable how we should never judge something by small beginnings. That's what Jesus is teaching in Matthew chapter 13. And to the Jews during Jesus' time, Jesus was not the Messiah that they had anticipated. We talked a lot about this as we've been going through Matthew, that they had this grand expectation of what the Messiah would look like. He was supposed to be a great warrior king, blessed by God to free Israel from their captors and to protect them so that they could live the blessed life of prosperity in the land promised of God. That was their expectation. Now imagine what was going through their mind when Jesus came onto the scene, because that is not how Jesus came to them. In fact, he came, the son of a carpenter. He was no king. He had no army. He wasn't there to overthrow Rome. In fact, he even healed Roman soldiers and their servants. He had no palace, no throne, no wealth. He was the humble son of a carpenter. And it was only him and a handful of fishermen, tax collectors, and ordinary men that followed him around Galilee. To many, Jesus probably seemed like nothing more than a passing movement. Other messiahs had come before, movements that thought that would free Israel, and they had come and fizzled out. This was just going to be another, this movement of Jesus was probably going to be another one of those. But something amazing happened, and Jesus warns us not to judge too quickly, because you see, the kingdom of heaven may have begun small, but it will transform the world. The kingdom of heaven may have started small on earth, but it impacted the entire world. And it's amazing to see the global phenomena of Christianity, how the Christian faith revolutionized the world. In these last few parables of Matthew 13, as we're walking through them today, Jesus teaches us 3 more characteristics of his kingdom. Remember, the parables were relatable stories that were meant to reveal a deeper truth. And these ones in Matthew chapter 13, they're all about the kingdom of heaven. They're all talking about God's kingdom being inaugurated here on earth. And he's using these stories to describe the characteristics of the kingdom. And the characteristics that we see here today that we're going to be studying is that the kingdom is growing, the kingdom is valuable, and the kingdom is either received or rejected. Those are our 3 main characteristics that we're going to be studying here today. In the passage, it's a little bit chopped up here today, but the first passage is going to be in Matthew 13, 31, 35. And Jesus here is telling us he's putting forth a couple more parables, and it says, another parable he put forth to them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, which a man took and sowed in his field, which indeed is the least of all seeds. But when it is grown, it is greater than the herbs and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air come and nest in the branches. Another parable he spoke to them, the kingdom of heaven is like leaven, which a woman took and hid in 3 measures of meal till it was all leavened. All these things Jesus spoke to the multitude in parables, and without a parable he did not speak to them, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet, saying, I will open my mouth in parables. I will utter things kept secret from the foundation of the world. Now we're going to stop there, because these are our first 2 parables, the parable of the mustard seed and the parable of the leaven. These both teach us this kind of the same lesson. And what you have to understand the lesson, you have to understand the background of how big a mustard seed is. Now, some people get lost in the parable of the mustard seed, and they get confused because it says it's the smallest of all seeds, and they'll say, well, the mustard seed isn't really the smallest of all seeds. But here's the thing. Jesus was not talking about it was the literal smallest seed in the entire world. There are smaller seeds. But this was the smallest seed common to the people of that area at that time. And they used it daily. It was a common plant that was grown in that area at that time. So as Jesus was talking about the seeds, he was talking about the most common types of plants and the most common types of seeds used at that time that they would be familiar with. Sure, there might be orchid seeds that are smaller, but the people there around Galilee probably didn't know what the orchid plant was. So he spoke to them in a way that they would understand. And a mustard seed is very, very small. I was going to bring one, but I didn't have one to bring, so I couldn't show it to you. But needless to say, they're very small. Now, the fascinating thing about the mustard seed is that even though it is very, very small, it actually grows into a rather large plant. And that's probably what Jesus was trying to emphasize the most, that even though it started off small, it has the potential to grow into this massive plant. Now, the average mustard bush, from what I read, usually grows around 4 to 5 feet, but has the potential to grow up to 15 feet, which is rather large, starting from a seed that's about that big. Jesus is trying to teach us here something important about the kingdom and about the power of his kingdom to grow. But he also uses a second parable, and this is the parable of the leaven. And I'm going to include this in here. Now, your version, depending on what Bible version you're reading from, your version might say, instead of leaven, may use the word yeast, all right? Which is more relatable to us today because we don't bake bread with leaven, we use yeast. Now, what leaven was, it was a type of sourdough that they would use to mix in with the flour and bread. As they were baking bread back then, they would mix this sourdough into it. And it would act like yeast does for us, which causes bread to rise. The sourdough mixed in with the good flour would cause the dough to rise. It would give it body. Now, there's a couple things. Leaven is often used throughout the scripture as to refer to corruption or sin. But Jesus isn't talking about sin or corruption here because in this specific instance, he's talking about the power and the ability of the sourdough, the leaven, to start small and impact a lot. And here he says that the kingdom of heaven is like leaven or yeast, which a woman took and hid in 3 measures of meal. 3 measures of meal. This was, where is that? There? Okay. Just a little bit. 3 measures to rise. This is about 50 pounds. This 3 measures of meal equates to approximately 50 pounds of dry measure flour. That's a lot of flour. So a little bit of leaven mixed in with 50 pounds of dry measure flour is enough to make bread for about 150 people. 150 people. Now, both of these parables are relating the same kind of thing. They're relating the same message, and that is the kingdom of heaven may seem to start out small, but it has an incredible power to grow and impact everything around it. We see the potential of growth that Jesus came and from very humble beginnings, starting off very small, he and his disciples around the Sea of Galilee. They went around this area. He wasn't walking through the streets, riding in on a chariot and proclaiming all this. It was very humble, small beginnings, started by him and his disciples. But as his ministry grows, we see more and more crowds coming and gathering around him. And then even beyond that, we see his kingdom, the kingdom of heaven, grow on earth as the disciples take the message of Jesus Christ and begin sharing it. And then we start to see the world being impacted. And now, thanks to those small beginnings, we are now gathered here today in the United States of America in Chambersburg Baptist Church, preaching and learning about the Word of God. The kingdom of heaven has incredible power to grow and impact everything around it. That's what Jesus was trying to show. And it's important because we can often get discouraged with small beginnings. It's easy. You want to start something and you have all this excitement and you're ready to do it and you get out there and you invite all these people and then a couple of people show up. Kind of knocks the wind out of your sails a little bit. It's very easy to get discouraged. But what Jesus is trying to show us here is that we need to trust in God to bring the increase. We need to trust in God because he's the one that is powerful. And even though it may look small and it may look like a small beginnings and not a lot of impact, we never know the potential of how much growth God intends to bring to those things. We don't know how big the mustard seed's going to get. We don't know how much leaven, how much bread is going to be made from the leaven. But a little bit goes a long, long way. And I find it amazing because not only does the leaven raise up enough bread to feed about 150 people, but the mustard seed grows large enough that even birds can come and nest in the branches. We see the impact of the plant. It started off as this small, tiny mustard seed, but it's grown into this massive thing, and it's affecting everything around it. That's exactly what the kingdom of God does here on earth. It's so amazing, and we should never question or be discouraged by small beginnings. Many great things, many great people started from humble, small beginnings. In fact, I recently heard this story from a preacher. I heard a preacher telling this story about his mother, and his mother was the church pianist. She contracted polio and became wheelchair bound. She still wanted to be used by God, but when she talked to the pastor of their church, he said, God has no more use for you. Now, as a pastor myself, I could never imagine telling someone that God has no more use for them. But that is exactly what she was told because she had contracted polio, she was stuck in a wheelchair, and that was it. God was done with her. Now, praise the Lord, that's not the end of the story. But this woman, through determination, through faithfulness and obedience to Christ, she went out and started a Sunday school at her church. And originally, it was only 2 children. I believe that's how the story went. It was 2 children. It was her children. It was her children. Started that way. But then she said, well, we're going to need buses. We need a bus so we can bus kids in. So she went and spoke to a guy who offered buses and deals and said, I'm starting something, you need to give us a bus. And they were so moved by this lady, they said, all right, well, we'll give you 1 bus 1 week and start there. And that did, and then she went back and said, well, now that bus can reach one side of town, but now we've got to reach the other side of town. So I'm going to actually need 2 buses and 2 drivers. And through determination and perseverance, the gentleman ended up giving her 2 buses and 2 drivers. And before long, this lady's small Bible study, Sunday school class for her own 2 children grew into a weekly Sunday school ministry for children that has about 5,000 kids that come each week, and an extensive bus program that would go all over the city and bring children. It all started with this lady one lady who contracted polio. And even though someone had told her, a pastor, a preacher said that God was done with her, God was not done with her. And that's my encouragement for you. You may start something. God might be calling you to start something, to do something, and you may go do it. And like I said, nothing is more discouraging than planning, putting all that time, that energy, that effort into it, and then showing up, expecting people to be there, and you might have 2 people. But the kingdom of heaven on earth started with a carpenter's son and 12 random guys, fishermen, tax collectors, sinners, and has impacted the entire world today. I don't know if you know this. If you read history, do you know that church history is Western history? That Christianity impacted the world so much that our civilizations here in the West, in Europe and in the United States, are so influenced by Christianity, it makes up the framework of our entire civilization. Our laws, our moral codes, our morality, all this, it was built upon the Christian faith. And that all started in Galilee with the son of a carpenter and his 12 disciples. But Jesus goes on, and we're going to jump down. We're going to jump down to verse 44. Matthew 13, verse 44. Once again, we're kind of skipping around here a little bit. And Jesus gives us 2 more parables here. And this is the parable of the hidden treasure and the parable of the pearl of great price. And the characteristic that Jesus is trying to show is he's trying to show that the kingdom of heaven is valuable. It is invaluable. It is worth everything. And he says the kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in a field, which a man found and hid. And for joy over it, he goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant seeking beautiful pearls, who, when he had found one pearl of great price, went and sold all that he had, and he bought it. So we have the 2 parables. The first one, you notice, this is a man who finds a treasure hidden in a field. It's a man who finds a treasure hidden in a field. And he becomes so joyous over finding this treasure that he goes and sells everything that he has and buys that field just because of that treasure that he found. Now, there's a couple important things that I want to point out here. The first one is the man is not necessarily sacrificing everything. He's selling everything out of the joy of his own heart because of how wonderful this treasure is to him. It means so much to him that he's willing to sell everything to buy the field in which he found that treasure. That's how great of a treasure that is. Do you have something that belongs to you that you love? It's your treasure that you would sell anything else for to have it and keep it? I'm sure you do. But you love it because of the joy that it brings you. That is the kind of treasure that this man found. So he's willing to sell all that he has. There is not a single thing that he's willing to hold on to give up this field. He wants that treasure so badly. It means so much to him that he gives up everything else just to buy the field that he found it in. But then likewise, you have the parable of the pearl of great price. And this one's talking about a merchant seeking beautiful pearls. And this isn't just some guy stumbling through a field that happens to kick his foot on a hidden treasure. This is a man actively searching for beautiful pearls. He is on the search for it. He wants to find it. A merchant is always looking for the best product that he can buy and resell. That's what they do. They buy things, they buy goods, and they resell it for a profit. And so he's looking for the most beautiful pearl that he could find to resell it. And when he finds the one pearl of great price, he went and sold all that he had and bought it, because that pearl was worth much, much more to him than everything else that he owned. In both of these stories, we see that the kingdom is valuable and we should be willing to give up everything for it. There is a sacrifice that comes when it comes to the kingdom of God. In fact, if we have anything that we value over God's kingdom, over God and his kingdom, then those things are probably actually our real idols. They're our gods. Those are the things that we really worship because we won't part ways. We're not willing to sacrifice and sell that. But ladies and gentlemen, the kingdom of God is so great that nothing else compares to it in value. There is nothing worth more than being a resident of the kingdom of God. So in order to follow Jesus, we have to be willing to sacrifice everything. And not out of resistance, not out of apprehension, not because we have to, but because we want to. Because of the joy that Jesus in his kingdom brings to us. We don't have to, we get to. That's the way I like to see it. We sacrifice the things not because we have to, but because we get to. But discipleship is very costly. I always try to make this distinction that salvation is a free gift of God. That God's grace is a free gift through Jesus Christ the Son. And everybody is welcome to it. Everybody is open to receive it. It is a free gift for you to receive. But discipleship, becoming a disciple of Jesus, is very costly. And time again in the New Testament, throughout the Gospels, Jesus tells his disciples how costly that life of discipleship is worth, or is going to cost them. But it's so worth it. Ladies and gentlemen, I assure you that the kingdom of God is worth it. But then we see another parable here. This is the parable of the dragnet. And Jesus tells him, he says, again, the kingdom of heaven is like a dragnet that was cast into the sea and gathered some of every kind, which when it was full, they drew to shore, and they sat down and gathered the good into vessels, but threw the bad away. So it will be at the end of the age. The angels will come forth, separate the wicked from among the just, and cast them into the furnace of fire. There will be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Now, a couple weeks ago, we talked about the parable of the wheat and the tares. And the parable of the dragnet is very similar to the parable of the wheat and the tares. But instead of using an agricultural planting parable, Jesus is now using a fishing parable. And if you don't know what a dragnet is, it's a huge net that you throw, you cast out, and you drag it along. And it literally is a net that you drag. And as you drag it, it scoops up fish. Fish swim into it, get stuck, you scoop them up in, and you catch the fish. That's how fishermen would fish. It's a way that fishermen would fish back then. So it would have been very familiar to them around that parts. Jesus is now comparing the kingdom of heaven to this dragnet. And notice that the kingdom scoops up everything. Every single fish is scooped up by it, both the good and the bad. Just like in the wheat and the tares, when the master, the farmer, told his servants, said, don't go pulling out the weeds. You're going to just destroy the good crop. But wait till it all grows up together. Then harvest it and throw the weeds away. The same thing happens here in the parable of the dragnet, where the good and the bad fish, the keepers and the ones you normally throw back, are all brought up together in one big giant net. And once they're brought into the boat and brought to shore, then you separate them. Then you separate the good from the bad. And once more, we see that this will come at the end of the age. And the reapers of the harvest, just like in the wheat and the tares, the reapers of the harvest are God's angels, and that they're going to come back and they're going to separate the wicked from the just, the good fish from the bad fish, the wheat from the tares. And just like that parable of the wheat and the tares, the good fish will be taken and stored. They'll be put in storage, and they'll be protected because they're a good harvest. But the bad fish, Notice this isn't just a catch and release program here. They're not just being tossed back into the water. The bad fish are gathered, separated from the just, and they're cast into a furnace of fire where there will be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Jesus is talking about the judgment that comes at the end of the age. And every man, woman, and child will come before the throne of God and be judged. And there are two options. You will either be the wheat or you will be the tare. You will either be the good fish or you will be the bad fish. And let me tell you something. You will either be clothed in the righteousness of Christ and you will go to live in glory with him forever in the new heavens and the new earth, or you will be separated and cast into the lake of fire with Satan and the beast and his minions. I can't stress enough that there is no middle ground in Christ. You don't get thrown back into the sea. There is no catch and release program. You are either taken, brought into storage as the good fish, as the wheat, where you're safe and protected, or you will be cast into the furnace of fire. And notice how he talks. He says this, he uses this phrase numerous times where there will be wailing and gnashing of teeth. And what he's describing here is the two responses that people will have in the lake of fire. The wailing are those whose hearts are broken and they will be crying in sorrow over their sin and judgment for the rest of eternity. But there will also be the gnashing of teeth. Those who grind their teeth at God in anger because of the punishment and the judgment that they deserve. I hope, my prayer is that we're all a bunch of good fish in here. That we all go into the storage. That we are the wheat. That we are not the tares. That we don't have to worry about the fiery furnaces because we are clothed in the righteousness and the glory of Jesus Christ. The man who came from humble beginnings that brought the kingdom of heaven back to earth. He literally brought the kingdom of heaven back to earth. He left his throne in heaven, manifested in the flesh, lived as a man, and opened the doorway back to the Father through his death, burial, and resurrection. So that all who believe in him can have eternal, everlasting life. That promise and hope of glory. Let's not get dragged down with the rest of the bad fish, thrown into the fire. But it shows you that the kingdom is received or rejected. This parable shows us that there are going to be those who receive the kingdom and those who reject the kingdom. In fact, at the very end of the passage here, we're going to hop down to verse 54. Like I said, we're jumping around a little bit, but down in verse 54, the chapter ends with this very interesting story. And it says, when he had come, he's talking about Jesus, when he had come to his own country, he taught them in their synagogue so that they were astonished. And they said, where did this man get this wisdom and these mighty works? Is this not the carpenter's son? Is not his mother called Mary and his brothers James, Joseph, Simon, and Judas, and his sisters? Are they not all with us? Where then did this man get all these things? Notice that Jesus goes to his own hometown, his own home country, where he was born and raised, and he goes straight to the synagogue. Business as usual. It's what he did. He would travel around. He would go to the synagogues and teach and preach in the synagogues. Nothing changed when he came home. But something interesting happens. We actually see two different types of responses, because at first, the people are astonished. The word says that they are astonished by his teachings. Where did this man get this wisdom and these mighty works? It's so amazing. This man, Jesus, that's coming and teaching us in the synagogue, where does he get this power from? But it quickly changed. Their attitude quickly changes, because then all of a sudden they remember. They recall who he is. They remember where he came from. He came from there. That was their own hometown. That's the carpenter's son. Notice that. One second, they're astonished about his power to work miracles, in the wisdom of his teachings. In the very next second, in the very next breath, he's just the carpenter's son. Oh, Mary's his mother. His brothers are right outside. James, Joseph, Simon, Judas aren't his sisters. They're all right here. This is just Jesus, Joseph's boy. We remember him. But notice, in verse 57, what does it say? So they were offended at him. Once they recognized him and they remembered who he was, they became offended. They were no longer astonished. If they were astonished, they were probably astonished at how offended they were. Little Jesus is back, and he's telling us he thinks he's better than us. That's the kind of response that they were getting because, oh, we remember when he used to run up and down these streets. We remember whenever he used to go work for his father Joseph. We remember him playing with his brothers and his sisters. This is the kind of thing that happens. So Jesus responds, and he says to them, a prophet is not without honor except in his own country, in his own house. And there is so much truth to this. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why family and friends, those people that you are closest to, are often the hardest to reach. Because they know who you are. They remember what you did when you were a kid. Oh, little Johnny's back. Yeah, he's a pastor out there in Chambersburg, but little Johnny's back now. And I remember when he used to do these dumb things that youth kids do, that teenagers do. But they become resistant to it because of the familiarity they have, and they become offended by it. And I've seen it take place in my own life with people that I talked to, the people that I grew up with that knew me back before I was a pastor, back before I was a seminary student, and then they remember all the dumb things I did. And so as soon as I try to tell them about Jesus and how they shouldn't do that, how they shouldn't sin anymore and they need to find Christ, then all of a sudden, it's, oh, well, well, I remember you used to say this. I remember when you did that. And yes, I did used to say this, and I did do that. But thank the Lord, that's not who I am anymore, because I'm a new creation in Jesus Christ. He has transformed me. He has given me a new life. And that same transformation, that same new life is available to them, but because they remember who you are and what you did, their familiarity with you will often cause them to resist you. That's just little so-and-so. Mary's boy. Imagine being one of those people sitting in that synagogue in Nazareth, listening to Jesus and being like, that's just a carpenter's son, and thinking about what he has done for the world today. You can never judge humble beginnings. And don't ever get discouraged when people resist you because they know who you are. Like I said, sometimes family and close personal friends are the hardest to reach, and it's because you have that history with them. Sometimes it takes an outside voice for them to realize the truth. But in verse 51, we're jumping back up, sorry. But Jesus, after sharing all these parables throughout all of Matthew 13, remember, he's been talking to the crowds this whole time. He turns to his disciples and said, have you understood these things? He turns to his disciples, have you understood these things? He asked them straight out, have you understood all these things? They said, yes, Lord. And this is the final parable, the parable of the householder. He tells them, therefore, every scribe instructed concerning the kingdom of heaven is like a householder who brings out his treasure, things new and old. Now it came to pass when Jesus had finished these parables that he departed from there. That's when he went to Nazareth. Now this is important, this last final parable. Because if you remember earlier on in Matthew chapter 13, the disciples asked him, why do you speak in parables? And he told them it's really to confound those who are resisting God and to bless those who are openly receiving God. And understanding will be given to those who want God, and more confusion and less understanding will be given to those who don't want God, who are resistant to it. And so Jesus asks them outright, have you understood these things? And they say, yes, Lord, that they have understood all the teachings, not just heard the parables, but know them and have understood exactly what he was trying to teach them. And so he goes on to give them one final parable. I love it. He always talks in parables, and he instructs them. He tells them that they are like scribes. But instead of being like the scribes of Israel, that he's talking to them as they're the scribes of the kingdom of heaven. And they're to be like a householder who brings out his treasure, things new and old. He's saying that they have a unique position over the scribes. See, unlike the scribes of Israel who were well learned in the teachings of Scripture, of the law and Torah, they could only bring out the old things. But the disciples of Jesus in the new kingdom of God and the kingdom of heaven that was being brought to earth through Jesus Christ, these ones were like the scribes then that had the ability to not only share the old things, the old teachings, the old instruction, but to bring out the new teachings. And we see this take place throughout the New Testament. When you read in the book of Acts, Peter's sermon at the day of Pentecost, do you know what he does? He goes back to the Old Testament. He starts with the old prophecies, and he says, King David said this, and the prophets said that, and now that's what the scribes did, okay? That's what the scribes of Israel did. They brought out the old. But then Peter, in his unique position as a disciple of Jesus Christ, in the entering into the new kingdom of heaven that Jesus brought here upon earth, was able to bring out the new, because then he related it and pointed it all to Jesus Christ. That's what he's talking about here. And ladies and gentlemen, we have that unique position as believers and disciples of Christ, that we need to study the Scripture and teach people not just the old, but bringing out the new hope, the new kingdom, the new covenant of the blood of Jesus Christ that was poured out for us, so that we could be forgiven of our sins, so that we could be clothed in his glory and his righteousness, and ultimately live forever with him. Matthew closes this chapter by showing us the kingdom from every angle. We see the kingdom growing beyond anything the world expected. We see the kingdom as being more valuable than anything that the world can offer. That one day the kingdom will separate the righteous from the wicked. And we see that the kingdom must be proclaimed by faithful disciples. And sadly, the kingdom is still rejected by those who refuse to believe. The greatest tragedy in Nazareth was not that they lacked evidence. Because remember, they saw, they heard, and they saw the power. But that they let their familiarity keep them from faith. They hardened their heart because it was little Joseph's boy. Joseph's little boy. Many people today know about Jesus. They may have grown up in going to grandma's church every Sunday, going to Sunday school. Maybe they've been to the Christmas Eve and Easter services, the most attended services each year. They've heard about Jesus' birth. They heard about his death. They heard about the resurrection. They may even know the Bible stories. Sure, they've heard about Noah's Ark and Joseph's pretty coat and all the Jonah and the whale. They've heard it. But knowing about Jesus is not the same as belonging to his kingdom. Knowing about Jesus is not the same as knowing and believing and trusting in the finished work of the cross. So the question this morning is not whether you know who Jesus is. The question is, do you believe in him? Have you recognized the incomparable value of his kingdom? Have you trusted Christ as your King and the Lord of your life? If not, then today is the day that you have the opportunity to enter into his kingdom. The kingdom that started like a mustard seed and has grown into a global phenomenon. It started off small, but one day it'll fill the whole earth. Let's pray.